Down on my knees, I found my Jesus. Down on my knees, I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountain, not in the valley, but it was on my knees. I found my Lord. Once I was blind, I could not see the glory of Jesus, so rich and free. I've heard about him, the man of Galilee.
All right, folks, good evening, one and all. Yes, we are here, Patriot Voices on Q. We are here for yet another program. Today is the 11th day of August 2023. The month of August is moving very quickly. For the time being, I'm here alone, but I expect Washburn Coffee to join me. Like you know, our brother Zah is out of state. I think he should be out for about 4 weeks, so let me just give him a big up and hope that he's doing all right up there. Yeah, and it's little Kai. I know they must be having some fun up there in the Big Apple. So good afternoon to you, my dear brother. Hope you're doing okay. All right, so for the evening, we're going to have the spiritual message by Mrs. Rimina Vidal Valentine. I have not heard it, to be quite honest, so I can't tell you what it entails, but you will hear for yourself in a while. And we'll be having an open discussion on the ills of the government. Okay, so I'll be just throwing out a few points, bring back our memory a bit for the ills, bad governance, and so on of the bad governance, yes, of that we're having in this country. And at the 7 o'clock hour, we will be linking up with our brother and sister Zed Lloyd and Marceline Edwards to have some discussion electoral reform and any other matter that we deem necessary to discuss. So that should bring us to the 8 o'clock hour. All right, so let me just continue our praise and worship for a few more minutes while I call my greetings list to go into the roll call and to proceed with this afternoon's proceedings. Please take a listen.
I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountain.
All right, let me say good afternoon to my little princess Kimaya and her mom, Ketika, of course, Auntie Martha, Auntie me, Delbert Blanchard, Bibia and family, Tarish Pitts, Jennifer Christopher, my brother Angelo Ali, Eben Long and family, Mr. Foy and family, Cody Beastry, Francilia Isaac, that's our little granny up there from Bellevue Roll, Rash Joseph, John, Wawon, Ernestine Pelty, and your daughters up there in the United States of America. Also to Corporate Vidal, I can't live out his name, otherwise Brother Bob Marley won't be so happy. So our farmer, Mr. Corporate Vidal, one of the biggest farmers in Dominica. Mr. Christian in the poor area, Rash Brigo, Edith Francois. Also we have our Tegas man, Jimbo, Dorian, Mr. Whitney Louis, Mervyn Blanchard, aka Cowie, I know he's up there waiting for his call. Cyrus Raphael, better known as Cindo from Point Michelle, currently lives in the USA, just saying hi to you. Also we have Miss Jennifer Xavier up there in Point Michelle. I know she's locked in, so let me just say hi and hello to both she and her husband and all the family members. Brother James and Daru from Good Hope, Mr. Lionel Laville, that's their brother down there. Hope you're doing better, sir. Sandra Smith and the daughter Cressida Raymond in the USA. We have Akela, Dana, Jessica, Nola Michelle, all of these guys from Tarish Pit, also Kalunda, Mano, Judith Dover from Guata Village, Susanna Rule, Mr. Louis Robinson, Loftus, Duran, Earl, and all the other CCM members. Good afternoon to you guys. A few of our good doctors, President Lingford, Thompson Fountain, Till Dangleben, Dr. Sam Christian, Dr. Irvin Pascal, Hazel Ricketts, Irvin Andre, Dr. Thomas, Hendrix Paul, and like I said, there's only a few of our good doctors. I say hi and hello to you guys. My friend Jill Woodman, Edith Abraham in the USA, Val Ferry at Point Michelle, Mindy on High Street, Timeless Queen, Vivi, our flower girl. I know you are listening. Good afternoon to you. Sally from Warner, Jermaine from Tarish Pit, our brother Morris down there in Citroni, Sandra Sylvester, better known as Missan, Robinson Charles from Campbell, better known as Small or Tiddly, Angel and Abigail in Marigot, Ivan Nicholas, Dion Philbert, Brian Linton, Tony Caesar and family in Totola, but I'm not sure if he's still in Totola or if he's Dominica. He seems to be moving very quickly. David C. Joseph, of course, our dear brother and member of CCM. Let me say good afternoon to you and your family. Hope everything is okay with you. Ronald Marie, the Moon Savior guys, Buju and others. Fafa, Malonita, I know you are locked in as customary and listening to our program. Good afternoon to you. I hope you are doing fine. Agatha Samuel, better known as Carrot, the Bruno family in Port Michelle. John Frampton, Mapower, Janice, or Hermia Bruno. Greetings also to Shirley Allen, Pape Pali, our regulars, of course, Blue and Lucille, the family members of Mr. Ralph Magloire, Mother Louis, Nerika T, Jessica, my good old friend. I've not heard from you in a long time. Hope you're doing okay. Mr. Norman Chillingford, the African brother, Mrs. Dorian Francis, our little granny and auntie and everything to us, Auntie Betsy, up here in Bath Estate. You might just call in a while to say hi. I know that you're always locked in and listen to Q95. Fano, Lister George, said Lloyd, blessings. Blessings. Yeah, I call it twice, partner. Why, blessings happen on the airwave, boy. Of fellas on the toes. Michael Coppell, Mr. and Mrs. Ozzy Luis in Emsol. Mrs. Luis, I hope you are doing okay. I've not seen you in a long time, but I hope and pray that everything is going all right with you. And hope that the good Lord will be with you and to see you through whatever health challenges that you may be going through at this time. Tyrone Theophile, Anthony Scotland, better known as Willie. We have our nurses, of course, our doctors, lawyers, our post officers, our fire officers, Mr. Desiree John, Mrs. Desiree John, Miss Norma Rample, down here in the Porterfield area, you and your husband. Good evening to you guys. And we have Norma in New Jersey. We have Rachel in Good Hope, Keith Matthew, Yolanda Roy and her mom Patricia, Adelaide Paul, Olivia Philogene from Collier, and of course all the other patriots, both home and abroad. Let me just say good afternoon to you guys. All right, guys, it's now 6:17, and we're going to open up the lines for the roll call. Numbers to call are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and the overseas number 305-432-9624. So feel free to call at this time so we could know where you're calling from and exactly who is calling. All right, so the lines are open for the next maybe 4 or 5 minutes before we continue.
But it was on my knees I found my Lord. He took my hands, I held up high, and he saw the tears that I have cried. Oh, he came down and held me tight, and he said, my child, You are mine. I went down on my knees and I asked the Lord, have mercy, please. He had compassion. He showed me love.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. California's locked in.
Okay, thank you very much. Please stay locked in. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Good night, Brother Blanchard. How are you?
Auntie Betsy, I'm doing very fine. What about you?
I'm good. I'm listening.
I can hear you're good. I can hear it in the voice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
I found my Lord. It wasn't on the mountains.
Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Always right.
Of course, blue.
How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
I just come from putting 2 people down in the ground.
Oh,
2 funerals one day.
wow.
One by Pastor Rodney, one in Catholic.
Wow. Rest in peace. They say RIP.
Boy,
Oh, which one is it? Rest in peace or rise if possible?
that's right. One of them. It's either one or the other.
Okay.
Anyway, take it easy and listen in.
All right. Take care, man. Bye-bye. All right, folks. So at 6:20, we'll take a couple more calls and then we will move on. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
When are we going to stand and take our country back?
Yeah, we'll discuss that in a while. We'll just do a little roll call for the time being, but yeah,
Okay, I'll call you back.
no problem. All right. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Hi, good night, Mr. Blanchard. What's happening?
Hey, Pan, what's going on?
Yeah, man. I'm
Morris?
good. That's Morris.
Of course, yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm listening.
All right. Thank you, man. Take care.
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool. Nice. All right. This one is from Myrna Louis, down there in the USA. So, Myrna, while you're cooking this big pot, you could enjoy this music. I know for sure this big pot has some corn in it, you know. She loves her corn, in the pot. Mother Louis, good evening to you. Good evening, caller. You're right on the queue. Good evening, caller.
Sweden Lopkin. Greetings to Dominica, Whitey Kubuli. Sweden Lopkin.
All right. Thank you very much.
As I go along life's journey, I'm reaping better than I sowed. I'm drinking from my saucer, 'cause my cup has overflowed. Ain't got a lot of riches, sometimes the going's rough, but I've got a friend in Jesus, and that makes me rich enough. I think.
All right, folks, we have 1 more minute to call,
on me
and then we move on to the spiritual message.
and the mercy that He's
Now 6:23.
I'm drinking from my sauce.
And at 7 o'clock, we're going to link up our brother Seth Lloyd and our sister Maslin Edwards to have a little discussion. All right, folks, we'll take it here. This time it's now 6:23 and counting. So we are going straight into the spiritual message at this time. Let me just get it to the top and then we shall proceed. All right.
Greetings, Amisha Day. Turn, turn, turn around. Why do you roam? Can't you see God the Father is waiting to welcome you home? You were never meant to walk the path you trod. How long will you run away, a fugitive from God? Before Moses died, he prophesied this. The Lord came from Sinai, like a light shining at the dawn of a seer, like a light shining from Mount Paran. He came with 10,000 holy ones. God's mighty soldiers were by his side. Yes, the Lord loves his people. All his holy people are in his hand. They sit at his feet and learn his teachings. At that time, the Israelites and their leaders met together, and the Lord became Jeshurun's king, Deuteronomy 33, 2-5. And after setting up the organization with the only people on earth who were considered the people of God, Moses blessed the nation of Israel. But when the nation of Israel went the way of the heathen nations, God subsequently divorced Israel as noted in scripture. In Romans chapter 1, Paul ends his letter by stating that anyone who lives such despicable lives should die. But thanks to the good news of the gospel, everyone who believes that Christ is Lord will be saved. And those who are right with God by faith will live forever. God's government on earth will then be restored by both Jews and Gentiles, per Jeremiah 33:7. All divided people, Jews, Israelites, and Hebrews, will be united, per Ezekiel 37:22-28. As August marks the celebration of emancipation, it's rather fitting to share some biblical findings regarding the plight of the scattered Jewish people and the Black Israelites. From my findings, I trust that inquiring minds will be inspired and spiritual eyes will be opened, and hearts will be receptive to the truth that is only found in Christ. Matthew 15:24 states that Yeshua, Jesus, was sent only to the lost sheep or people or the house of Israel. For John 1:11, he came to his own and they did not receive him. Sadly, this is still happening to this day. I pray that those who can hear his voice today will not harden their hearts as in the rebellion, for Hebrews 3:15. It is widely known that Judaism originated from the covenant between our Heavenly Father God and our earthly father Abraham. The word Hebrew derived from Heber, Abraham's descendant. Israelite comes from Abraham's grandson Jacob, renamed Israel. The Jews are members of the tribe of Judah, the leading tribe of Israel. Israelites are the conquerors of Canaan. The controversial discussion surrounding the authenticity of the Jews' race has remained questionable for ages, though the scripture clearly establishes that God made man singular and man multiplied. Genesis 2 verse 7-8 says, God made a man from the dust of the ground and named him Adam, and God breathed the breath of life into Adam. For Genesis 2:18, from the man's rib, God created a partner for Adam and named her Eve, meaning the mother of everyone who ever lived. Genesis 3:20. They were to populate and replenish the earth. Who could the Lord God of Jerusalem be referring to when he stated in Ezekiel 16:3, look at your history. You were born in Canaan. Your father was an Amorite and your mother a Hittite. Close quote. God was referring to the rejected people of Jerusalem because of his love for them. Before they began prostituting themselves, degrading their beauty to catch every man by using the things God gave them. They killed their children, slaughtered their sons, and worshipped false gods. Isn't it lamentable that similar atrocities are occurring presently in the Garden of Eden, our botanical garden? As the Lord lives, all the culprits should review the entire passage concerning their punishment. Heth was a son of Canaan, hence the term Hittites. The pagan citizens of Canaan were idolatrous people called Amorites. They indulged in adultery, child sacrifice, homosexuality, prostitution, idolatry, and witchcraft. Canaanites are the original Israelite inhabitants. When the Israelites entered the land of Canaan, they were there. Could Ezekiel 16:3-14 be making inference of intermixing, which resulted in diverse hues or lighter-skinned people or Arabs or Caucasians. According to Genesis 9:25, it is through Ham's lineage, Cush, Egypt, Put, and Canaan, that the development of most of Africa and a large portion of the Middle East, including modern-day Iraq, was founded. Cush's son Nimrod, who built Babylon and several other cities, was considered a mighty hunter in the sight of the Lord. Bearing in mind that the earth is the Lord's, here is a breakdown of Ham's lineage and the countries they founded. Canaan, Noah's grandson, was one of 4 sons of Ham, who dishonored his father, but Noah's curse was visited upon his grandson, Canaan. Canaan was a Semitic-speaking civilization and region in the ancient Near East during the late 2nd millennium BC. It is now recognized as Israel or Palestine, which was originally called Greater Africa. For Ezra 9:14-10 and 10:11, the Jews had taken Canaanite and Moabite foreign wives. After 400 years of iniquity, these commingled Canaanites forfeited the land, as stated in Deuteronomy 31:6. You will remember these words when the Lord sends you away to other nations. Then you and your descendants will turn back to the Lord, close quotes. And God gave their land Canaan to Israel, or Jacob's son. Egypt was considered the land of Ham, as Psalm 106 verse 22 states. They forgot God, their Savior, who had done wondrous works in the land of Ham and terrible things by the Red Sea, close quotes. Psalm 105:22 also supports this claim. Hence, it is written in Psalm 105:23, Israel came to Egypt. Jacob lived there in Ham's country, close quotes. In Exodus 13:18, the Israelites who had gone to the African country of Egypt during the famine went up out of Egypt back into the land of Canaan, or the promised land, now called Israel, which was formerly controlled by Egypt. It must be noted, however, that every time God's people sinned, they would be driven into captivity. Yet these resilient people managed to make impressive contributions in the political, economical, and cultural areas to the very societies that enslaved them. God's mercy endures forever. Praise the Lord. For Jeremiah 23:3, this message is from the Lord. I sent my sheep to other countries, but I will gather together my sheep that are left, and I will bring them back to their pasture. Then when my sheep are back in their pasture, they will have many children and grow in numbers. But a seed must first die to selfish ambitions or self-interests before it springs up and produces good fruit. This is the best decision anyone could ever make in their lifetime. It is written, they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb and because of the word of their testimony, and they did not love their life even when faced with death. For this reason, rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in earth, close quotes. Patriots, Yeshua rose from the dead, that all who believe in him shall live and not die. If we are true believers or anything close to the early Protestants who went against the grain, we would have long dissented or opposed the status quo for repeatedly violating our rights. The least we can do now, in addition to pounding the pavement in disgust by putting boots on the ground, is to acknowledge we have transgressed against the land by remaining silent. And put Ezekiel 37:4-7, begin to prophesy resurrection power to all the dry bones in this land. Better late than never. Thanks again for listening. Peace.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Hibina Vidal Valentine, for this thoughtful message. It's always powerful, to the point, and like I always say, I know it's only taken quite a bit in terms of getting your thoughts together and to bring out the message the way you really do. So thanks again for these words of encouragement. And it is really, really, really thought-provoking, and it's something that we should really ponder on. Just a quick comment on it. Ms. Valentine mentioned that they forgot their God, or they forgot their Savior, who had done wonderful things for them. So I just want to take this line and say, sometimes, we tend to live our own lives. We tend to do our own thing forgetting that there is a Savior, there is a God who cares about us and who has done a lot for us. You know, we take a lot of things for granted, and we get up in the morning time, and we have life. We go to the washroom, we can urinate freely, we can pass our stool freely, we can eat our foods, and digestion is fine, no issues with that. You know, you breathe freely, there's no lung problem. And we take those things for granted because it happens every day. You don't even take notice of it. But there are so many persons out there on the hospital beds that can't pass the stool, can't urinate, have pain all over the body. And that is when you really, when you get to that situation, you really realize, boy, it's a blessing. God is blessing me every day with good health, the ability to speak, the ability to feel, to smell. You know, He has blessed you with a job, with a shelter over your head, with clothes, with children, a wife, a husband, you know, a good family, with food on the table. You know, these things are blessings that we take for granted every day. So it's a good reminder to you out there that you must not take the blessings of God for granted. When He has done good things for you, you must remember that and do good in return and serve Him. Mrs. Valentine also spoke about persons violating our rights, and that is something that's happened in Dominica over the years, particularly in that present administration. And of course, it's calling for boots on the ground. Mrs. Valentine, boots on the ground. I agree with you 100%. It is more than time. It's overdue for boots to be on the ground and to do what we have to do to stop these violation of our rights. And just before I close, let me just say to you that you have a lovely voice. You have a lovely voice, and if you have to sing for a living, you won't starve at all. Thanks for your message. Thanks for your beautiful rendition this afternoon. God bless you. All right, folks, it's now 6:45, and we have to move on since we have to connect with our friends about the 7 o'clock hour. But before we do that, I'm just going to kind of tickle the brain for the next maybe 15 minutes, and then I'll open up the lines for 10 or so minutes before we bring in our brother and our sister. So what we want to do is we're just going to be asking a number of questions, or probably just to refresh your mind of some of the ills that the Dominican Labour Party has done. The violation of the Constitution, the level of deception, malpractice, high level of corruption, abuse of power, abuse of state resources. Just name a few of them. There are many, perhaps over 100, but I will make mention of about 25 in interest of time. We're not going to go into each one. We're just going to mention them because sometimes, we speak about things and we forget about it until we get something new to talk about. According to the old saying, Lanka and I separate with you. You talk of things and then you forget about it within a week or two. All right. So let us look at a few of them. All right. Before we bring in Zed and them at 7, because it is always a good thing to remind us of the manner in which this Labour Party administration has ill-treated, or in our local palace, maltreated our country and the citizens. All right, so we have to more or less keep those things, those issues on the front burner, and let's try to keep them there because they're very important. So first of my list, number 1, we have the villas at Savanpai. Have you forgotten about it? Who are the owners of these villas? We have already established that it does not belong to the person fronting as owner, okay? So let us bring back all of these discussions because they are important. Number 2, the mansion which the Prime Minister currently resides in and the extortion of paying $64,000 monthly as rent. We have number 3, another mansion being built at Mount Daniel. Again, we are all quiet about it. Is it passport money? Is it a loan? Is it a gift? We don't know. We also know, number 4, we have other properties allegedly owned by the Prime Minister at Picard, Trafalgar. We have other properties allegedly owned by the Prime Minister outside of Dominica, like the USA. Number 6, tax evasion. Example, you buy a property that is worth, say, $200,000. You put a value of $50,000 just to evade taxes. So you pay less tax. The same can be done on a motor vehicle. And we had the example of the Wrangler, I think, where it was undervalued. Number 7, we talk about the Panama Papers, with certain individuals holding accounts with large sums of money. Number 8, the bin ball and the fertilizer ball. Number 9, the whereabouts of our sister Ruth Parrots. Number 10, the unaccountability for over $8 billion. Number 11, the ownership of the House of Darkness under construction in the middle of Roseau, costing millions of dollars. Number 12, unknown and known list of foreign diplomats holding our diplomatic passports with criminal records. Number 15, we have the lack of transparency and accountability in the governance of our country. Number 16, we have the dismantling of our institutions that adversely affects our democracy, such as the IPO and Electoral Commission. Number 17, we have the introduction of the Red Clinic and spending millions of dollars in every election cycle. Number 18, we have the visa requirement to enter the UK because of our government's lack of foresight, lack of due diligence in the sale of our passport, and of course, greed and selfishness. Number 19, we also have, and we have to remember that as a result of the visa requirements, these sanctions that has been imposed on us by the UK will have devastating impact on Dominica's reputation and will also affect the image of the average citizen. Okay, citizens who are interested in visiting UK for education, for medical attention, for sporting, entertainment, whatever it is going to affect us, and also there is a cost associated with obtaining the visa. We have number 19, promises made and several days ago, yet to be accomplished. And we have promises, just to name a few of them, such as building of the yacht and cruise center in Portsmouth, funded by China. We have the Freestar Hotel in Carib Reserve, construct a new Carib Council Center to house the office of the Carib Chief and the Council, as well as conference room, a cultural center and post office, all of that. We next promise made, build an Olympic-sized swimming pool in Roseau. I believe the potholes in Roseau might be the Olympic-sized swimming pool. Build an indoor sporting facility in Stock Farm that has the capacity to host regional and international games, like the Winterback Stadium. Construct modern government offices in High Street, in Roseau and Portsmouth. So all of these are promises made. Then we have number 20, manipulation and control of the media and court systems. 21, persecution and prosecution of opposition members over the years. Number 22, we have the stifling of opposition parliamentary members in the parliament by using the purchased speaker. Number 23, we have taxation on our credit unions. 24, the saga with Mehul Choksi. 25, we have building of hotels all over the country with absolutely no accountability. Number 26, I forgot to say 25, but I'm over 25. Employment of 90% of foreigners on major construction projects, while the locals remain unemployed. And we also have keeping of billions of passport sales money outside the treasury, managed by a foreigner and the Prime Minister himself. So, folks, you know, as I said last week, so these are all of the things. Brother Washby has just entered, so let me just bring him into discussion. Brother Washby, I was just trying to let's bring back a number of things, a number of issues that we spoke about in the past, like the villas and all of these things. Let people remember those things. Don't just sit back and forget about them, because this will be on the front burner. And as I said last week, we have spoken enough. We have spoken enough. And when I say we, I am referring to all the civic groups and political parties. We have written several letters, held public meetings, rallies, radio programs, discussions, consultations, to name a few. And what's really happening? There's absolutely nothing happening. They are doing more and more and more. So we need to go beyond that. We need to take it to another level. Our country needs to be liberated. Everyone needs to get on board to save our nature isle. Collective action is what is required now, my brothers and sisters, like we said last week. That was part of our scribe's message last week. So we cannot leave it up to the leaders of the political parties or any individual or individual group. Let's unite. Let's unite. We cannot fight among ourselves and expect to beat the enemy. I repeat that. We cannot fight amongst ourselves and expect to beat the enemy. You know what happened to us? We will be consumed. Because while we're busy fighting each other, the enemy is now attacking us. The struggle is real, my friends. The struggle is real. All right. So I'll stop with the screen, which is now 6:45. Our brother Washby is in the house, and I'm not sure. I tried to get him today. I didn't make contact with you, Washby, to let you know that we're going to bring in Brother Zed and Sister Marceline at 7 o'clock for us to have a discussion. It will not be kind of an interview kind of thing. It's just going to be a freed-up discussion, not freed-up talk, just interaction and so on, talking about electoral reform and any other pressing matter that we wish to discuss. We'll just throw it out and let's have a little chit-chat. Have you, bro? So you want to say hi to somebody?
Yes, Brother Blanchard, thanks very much for welcoming me to your program. Sorry to our listeners that I am a bit late, but John, I'm a very involved guy, and this week has been hectic. And today, as a farmer, you might want to call me part-time, but food security is my business.
That's right.
Yes, and I was on the farm for 2 days. So today, I was in the business of selling my crops. There are a lot of breadfruit around nowadays, get your breadfruit and your avocado pears, and,
this is like hungry.
So after doing that, I was a bit exhausted. I tried to take a 5 before coming to the program, but instead I took a 10. But I've been listening to the program from home, very interesting. Heard the comments by our sister, Miss Valentine, and heard your comments on that. It was good. Miss Valentine always is very powerful with a statement and is always very relevant to what is happening, and
absolutely.
Her call for boots on the ground, is echoing what you just mentioned, John. You're calling for unity.
That's right.
Yeah, unity. We need for us to succeed. For us to succeed in whatever we are doing, we need unity, and so I listened to all of this, and I'm very prepared to make my contribution to the program this evening. But of course, just coming on, just want to shout out all my good people, wherever you are. Of course, my wonderful wife and my kids, wherever they are, and all our friends, in River Syric, Kulibistri, John, our program, it's really making its inroads, John. I have, you go to the market, you walk on the road, you go to River Syric, all about, and the people are saying they're listening to the Patriot voices on GU, so that gives us a pleasure, and even while mentioning that, let me Let me say, John, on a sad note, you know, you may recall that after our program a couple weeks ago, when we had Dr. Fountain with us, we, as usual, recreated by Simses.
Right.
And I just reminding you that Simses was having a discussion with us, and he was mentioning about his pursuits and so on, and the name the Doctors was mentioned, and when it was inquired, I said, well, Billy's mom was just approaching 100 years. John, very soon after, a few days after, she passed away, you know, and, you know, Billy Doctor, I was a neighbor in Goodwill, you know, these people are very close to me. From the time I know myself, I know the Doctor, Mr. and Mrs. Well, Mr. Doctor now deceased. So I want to use the opportunity of our program because I passed at the home and I met Roy, you know, one of the sons. And he said he's a constant listener of our program. And he said we should even include him in our greetings line.
Which one?
Roy Doctor.
Oh, Roy Doctor. Oh, yes.
Yeah, that is one of the sons of
Yes,
Clotilda's
yes,
Doctor.
I know Roy, yeah.
Deceased, you know. So I want to use the moment to express the condolences of my family and, of course, of our program, and at the same time to hail Roy, you know, who asked us to give him a shout. And, of course, all the Doctor family, Billy, my bosom partner, Chaucer, we all were part of the Henny King Sid Sports Club, and we all made a very good contribution to sports and to sports administration in this country. And Mrs. Doctor was a very ardent sports follower, you know, so I want to use our program to say hi to them, you know, and to ask the Doctor family, you know, all the siblings, you know, Charlie and all the others, you know, wherever they are, you know, to hold strong, you know, Billy, Chaucer, Roy, and all the extended family of the Doctors. Also, Blanchard, it hit me very hard yesterday. Bad news coming from the New York area. You know, I have a first cousin, one of my first cousins from Point Michel. Her brother was just in Dominica. You would know the Wilsons, you know, their mother was Elvie Wilson, deceased. Yeah, there was a very strange happening in the family on Sunday because one of the daughters went to church with her husband, and coming from church, he said he was not feeling well. He was driving, and she took the vehicle away from him and drove him straight to the hospital. And by the time they arrived at the hospital, he was no more. You know, that's my first cousin's husband, you know, so I want to shout them out in the US. You know, Victor Wilson, John Wilson, Sonny. Sonny was just here a couple weeks ago, just left Friday last week on holiday in Dominica, you know, and that sad news came to us. So it's my cousin-in-law, you know, very sad for the entire Coffey family, the Wilson family, you know, and her roots is from Point Michel, but, you know, she has been living in the States. Willie, I think, if I remember her name well, is her name, you know. So, you know, very sad news for the family, and just want to use the program to ask them to hold strong, you know, in the New York area. All my sisters and all my extended family out there, you know. But, John, you know, as we usually say, you know, Matt Peltier, you know, Dominica is always pregnant with issues, you know, and the issues continue to unfold. And as a watchdog on behalf of the Dominican citizenry, we at the CCM, we cannot sleep. Our eyes, we have to be wide open and looking at what is happening. But there are a lot of some issues. I think one of the popular issues being discussed is this. I'm not sure what to see, but we are here in a Fred Stower botanical gardens in terms of maybe some development there. But John, you see, this is what my big question is. I mean, all this is talk. You might say, well, talk is going around. But you need the people who are responsible in the system, the people who are the officials in the ministry who are responsible for the botanical gardens, for the agricultural department. Those guys should be speaking.
Yeah, I know you want to run with it, but
yeah. I'm just mentioning that
we want to all of that to be part of the discussion you said, and I think at 7.
Yeah.
I was just call it a chance to like at 2 or 3 calls.
Okay.
Because when they come in, they're going to do at least half an hour more.
Okay.
So let's just take a few calls quickly, and then all of that will form part of the discussion from 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problems. All right. Okay.
All right, so it's about our 6:54, and so you can call in right all callers at 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, 305. What's the number? 305-432-9624. All right, so we're going to have a little music while they're waiting to call.
Just come to make sure you see. Yeah, man.
Good evening, caller. You're right, thank you.
Hey, Mr. Blanchard, that's Maurice again.
Yes, Boris.
Yeah, all the properties you mentioned there, you forget one, eh?
Which one?
Beaubois, and I understood a mansion building at Beaubois.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and somebody told me a mansion building Beaubois.
Oh, boy. More buildings going up, eh?
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, have to check on that.
Yes. All right. Cool. Take care.
All right.
Jamaica have a special niche market tourism. Oh yeah. This tourist comes once every 5 years, election season. When they come to stay for a day or 2. Oh yeah. The Dominica.
Yes, friends, that's exactly what's happened to us. You can't decalino, eh? The country's, oh my God, being destroyed. Destroying our rivers, all our natural beauty. Set of concrete all over the place. And now we are in about the gardens. We've got to stop it, folks. We've got to stop it. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes. Let me ask a question. That tax increase license for the credit union. That's like a dead little head. Nobody said nothing about that again. That just come up in the air and letters were sent and you're hearing what really went on?
Yeah, absolutely right, Blue. I've not heard much at all.
What's really going on in that country?
I would expect the management, the board of directors of the credit union, to make a statement. I would expect the members, to have some form of protest. I mean, the credit union has a very big membership,
Yeah, we don't hear nothing. Yeah. Nobody not starting something. Number one is management.
Yep.
Allow the people and the people to really be, because when the management send a letter to the people in authority, they should tell the people what response they got, and then people would make up their mind what the hell they're going to do.
Exactly.
But nobody has said shit about anything. Yeah. What really
well, if management fail to act, then the members should take it on their own.
What really going on?
Well,
Now we are about our botanical gardens. Anthony Hayden and Skerrit. What Anthony Hayden really have on Skerrit? What really hell is really going on? Anthony Hayden and Skerrit have our gardens business going on there, I wonder how Mr. McIntyre, John McIntyre would feel to know that gardens going there. Where Mr. McIntyre what he would say? What would he do when he hear what really going on in that botanical gardens? And he was a part of that gardens. That's why he worked, he helped, he feed his children, and then what he was doing from there, from Botanical Gardens, to know Botanical Gardens would go down the drain. That if it have one straw that have to break the camel back, I think that's the straw right about now, people.
Yep.
That we have to break.
Yes,
Bye.
yes, that is true. That is true, I believe. All right, 2 more calls. Yes, something?
Yeah, well, I on the credit union issue, the Dominica Cooperative Societies League, which is the umbrella trade association for credit unions, they did issue an official statement, press release last week.
And that's it.
But I would expect, and given the call from Blue and other people, I mean, people have met me and they said, well, Mr. Coffee, what is the course of action we can take? But obviously, that has to be led by the leadership of the credit union.
And if the leadership feel...
The leadership supposed to find a way to speak to the members.
And if they feel doing that, what do we do?
Yeah, well, the members can petition their credit unions, can call
so
for some special general meeting of that nature.
We have to
discuss the matter, because this is not a matter that should just because the budget is passed, it should be left to rest. You understand what I mean? Because to me, this is very fundamental to the pockets of the poor people, you know. So
okay, let's do 2 more quick. It's already 7 o'clock. Wow. Good evening, caller. You're right. Thank you. Good evening, caller. Lost this one. Good evening, caller. You're right. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening.
To you, sir.
Good evening.
Please be briefer.
Mr. Irish from the credit union, and they put in this new management there. I think if Mr. Irish was there, we would have heard something already. But since that they change him, they actually remove him from that position and they put him whoever they wanted. That person there is silent. You understand what I say, Mr. Blanchard? So
well, the manager cannot act on his own. You have to act in accordance to the board.
The owners is on the Dominica Cooperative Societies League. They are the umbrella. The individual credit unions by themselves cannot do much. They have to use their trade association to move the whole pressure, you know, to apply the pressure.
I disagree. But no, we'll talk after. Let's just take one more call and then we'll move on. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Blanchard.
Yes, sir.
And good evening, Mr. Coffee.
Yes, good evening,
I have a question. Do we have an electoral commission?
Supposed to. On the books, yes.
No, I have something on the ground I'm talking about, because we are going to have a consultation next week, Monday. And if we don't have an electoral commission in place, I don't think it has any use to go to that meeting on Monday, because listen to me, for Southern, look at it. It's government is taking it up in their hands to have this consultation. Where's the electoral commission?
That's
Good
correct.
night, thank you, gentlemen.
That's correct. It's unethical. It's inappropriate. All right, scholars. It's only like a night enough, but we have to move on. It's now 7:02, and we have Miss Marceline Edwards and Mr. Zed Lloyd. Right, they are waiting for us, and so we have to link them up at this point in time so we can have a discussion. Right. So, callers, sorry, I can't take any more calls at this time. Good evening, Marceline. Are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, and I can also see your beautiful face.
Well, thank you. I can. But where are you, John? I can't see you. I am seeing
you. I'm hiding in the corner.
Oh, you're hiding in the corner. I hope you're not hiding.
I'm right there. Probably the location where I am. So let me try to move a little further out. Can you see?
Oh, I can now see you.
Okay, good. All right.
I can see.
Yes, nice having you, Marceline.
Washburn Coffee. How are you, sir? How
yes, are you doing? I am. I'm good, feeling well for the time. Doing
okay,
well.
It's very good to see you.
Yes, you too as well.
Yes.
Okay, Marcel. So this evening we decided to invite both yourself and Zed to have a little chit chat, a little discussion with us, and not only on electoral reform, but we can probably start off on electoral reform because there's so many pressing matters we can't really touch all of them this evening. But we know electoral reform has been a big one, or is a big one. And we know of all the different efforts that have been made by the various groups and so on, and recommendations by CARICOM and OAS and all of that. We know of this popular email from Ask the Fans in 2008 to Scary, talking about madness happening up there and all of that. And we just felt it would have been important this evening to have your take on it, so you could weigh in on it and tell us what you feel about the whole electoral reform discussion that's going on, including Byron's recommendations and consultations and all of that.
Well, you know, I want to first of all, you know, say a special good evening to you formally.
Yeah.
And to Mr. Washburn Coffee, host of the CCM program, Dominicans at Home, fellow diasporans, and the Q95 listening audience. Thank you for having me with my diaspora neighbor, that is Mr. Zed Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, a special good evening to all patriotic Dominicans who are selfless and fearless in standing for justice and standing for country. I bring greetings from the New Jersey, New York tri-state, and of course, it is a privilege to be here to share on such an important issue, electoral reform. I always consider electoral reform to be the gateway to our democracy, and our democracy encompasses our democratic rights. And this is also a process that is enshrined in our Constitution as electoral reform should be the only legitimate means by which we can elect our government. And how do we elect our government, and why I consider it to be the legitimate means? Because everything truthful about and democratic and legitimate about the process of our elections should be in that reform. This is what it expresses, the views, the silent views that are expressed in the ballots that speak to choosing our leaders to conduct our affairs of state on our behalf. And this is a process that should be fair.
Mm-hmm.
We claim it is free, but we cannot claim it is fair. It is a process by which we should elect our leaders based on how they work for us, if they obey the law, if they do everything that, you know, satisfies us as a people, then of course we can consider to elect them into office. But it's not a process by which they get in through bribes, as we have seen. Bribes in Dominica, bribes that extend as far as the diaspora. It is not a process where people should steal their way into office. And this is what is happening for the past few election cycles. Is it free? Is it fair? How can we sit back and just allow that to happen? We can't allow those things to happen, because all through our election cycles, we have seen that over and over. And what it does is that it empowers people who do not respect our law. Because if you're elected into office, and the manner in which you are elected into office is not a legitimate manner, it is not fair. It is stealing your way through. It is bringing in all sorts of votes from all over the globe so that you can be installed on the backs of the people who so desire change, the people who live the grind and work through the grind, the people who are patriotic enough to remain, the people who just, you feel that they want to remain in Dominica They feel that that's Dominica, they can create a green pasture for themselves in Dominica and not go elsewhere. The process should be free and fair in order for them to elect their government. It should not be hinged on hegemony, where you bring in the voters from out of country. And that in itself speaks to what is happening in Dominica, why the government does not have to work for the Dominican people, because that government was not elected by the people and for the people living in Dominica. It was elected from diasporans who illegally came into the country to do it. And this is why electoral reform is so important. It is important to preserve the vote, to preserve the democratic rights, to preserve the sanctity of the process. Because if you cannot elect your own government for yourself, when you are quite capable in electing your government for yourself, other people who live out of the country, who have no legitimate interest in the country, but just because of partisan politics and for selfish agendas, they will come in and elect a government on the backs of the people and leave. It cannot be right. The land grabbing we see happening all over Dominica. Look today on Q95, on the program, it was said that the botanical gardens is sold. Do you think if we had proper reforms in the country, do you think that the group of bandits in our office would be still in our office, raping our country, plundering our country, abusing the rights of our citizens, abusing the rights of our citizens in the worst way you can think of? They're actually bullying Dominicans, bullying the citizens of the country. Don't you think we deserve freedom from all of that? How do we get freedom from the band of ilks that have just taken over our country? This is the reason why electoral reform is so important, because we paid 600 and something plus thousand for this reform to happen, something that we should have never done in the first place. Because I believe that Dominica has capable persons to deal with our reform, to handle our reform. We have so many capable lawyers in Dominica. We have the electoral reform commissioners. We have the office, which we were told is an independent office. So why is it that our Dominican people, with all the electorals we have in Dominica, with all the lawyers we have in Dominica, why couldn't we come together and chart out a proper way for our reforms? Our reform is for the people. It is for the people. That is what takes our leaders in, and that is what should take them out. But if we cannot have those reforms applied properly, if we cannot have those legitimate reforms, then how are we ever going to see the bandits gone that just occupy illegally the offices of our land? We see the demarcation of all our natural sites, our national heritage sites. And then what are they trying to do? Is it that they're trying to deface our country in such a way that that the signature of Dominica will be ripped up from the face of Dominica? Is it that they're trying to make bring Dominica to a state where we can't even identify with Dominica? So all our history will be gone. They went after our cabarets. They went after our historical buildings, our landmarks that were there from since colonial days. Look at the library in Roseau. It is one of our historical landmarks. What you see happening, it is in a deplorable state. Now they took Peebles Park. They turned it into something that it's unrecognizable. Now they're after our botanical gardens. And what are we doing? We see our people. Our people are becoming second-class citizens in our own land. If you do not own land, if your lands are taken away from you, what does that signal? It signals that you have no right. You're like a squatter in your own country. So they remove you with your certificate of title, with your holding, with something that gives you a right to that little piece of rock. And they replace that you with a Chinese. They take your property and they replace Chinese in there. And what are we doing? We are just sitting there and doing what? And crying and thinking of what we can do. How you mean what we can do? There's a lot we can do. But what we have to do, we have to rise up as a people, because this is the only way we can do it. We cannot do it otherwise. No one is going to do it for us. We have to do it ourselves. And this situation has been entrenched deep in the veins of our motherland. And the only way we can do it is to bind our forces, bind our strength together, and eradicate it. That's the only way we can do it.
Indeed. Well said, Martin.
I don't see how else it can be done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well said. And
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear clearly.
Yeah, we're hearing you clearly.
Can you hear us on the other side? So,
there's something going on with the internet. Can you hear me?
We're hearing
yes,
you.
We're hearing you clearly.
We're hearing you clearly.
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah, because set on.
Set on. Brother said.
Yeah, good evening. I'm here, brother.
Welcome, brother Zed.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank
man,
you
welcome.
for coming on.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, very clearly. Martin seems to have some issues from the end. Yeah, so let's hope that she comes back on. But thanks very much, Ted. We do appreciate you taking time out to brief us on our CCM program, well, of course, of which you are a member as well. So you're actually on your program.
Well, let me just let me start first by making an appeal to the listeners and to other members of CCM and the likes that we're trying to turn this group into a more active group. We're trying to get the group more organized, start doing things a little differently than what's been going on for the last 8 months of this program. And one of the limitations is funds, and some of us in the diaspora make that sacrifice monthly, a few on the ground. But we need a hand. We need a hand, and a lot of people calling for birthday calls, high calls. Folks call to comment, and others. I'm asking folks, I know it's hard on the ground, I know it's, but for those listening diaspora, those at home who can, even if it's the $20 you can drop at Q for CCM, a month, it goes a long way. We can reach the rest, we'll do what we got to do. But just understand, that the struggle is sacrifice. It needs help. And if the help comes, people can be more motivated to act, than having to put their hands in their pocket every time to do things that need to be done. Some of us are for the struggle, so it really doesn't matter. We're always ready for the sacrifice. But I just wanted to let the people know, after you get off the programs and you stop listening, make a little effort to help this thing happen. In other areas too, there's other groups on the ground, other issues happening. The UWP, the other parties, the Electoral Reform Committee, those things, help them. Help them. The help is needed. Part of what is handicapping the struggle is material resources. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
John, I want to make relating to the Dominica Botanical Gardens. I want to make a few clarifications. There's a video going around. It is not an actual video of what is going to happen in the Botanical Gardens. Right. It's an older proposal that was presented to the government, and it was rejected as far as I know. So that is an old plan. So that is not really what it was. A Chinese plan. and it's not the plan that is going to be executed.
Okay.
This thing that came about to us came about. Yeah, you said something?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, this thing that came about that we now have in the news came about because the Saudi Arabia, because of Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is trying to get into the United Nations in terms of being the one that presents Expo 2030, which is a global event. And the thing is, you have to get votes for you to get to be the host of this event. Marceline, mute your mic, please. So this, because they have to get votes at the UN, they've been targeting the Caribbean for the last couple months. And this ambassador, the Minister of Tourism, the Saudi Arabian tourism minister, was visiting the Caribbean and spreading money around the Caribbean. Dominica was given $2 million to secure its vote for Expo 2030 at the United Nations. So this $2 million that you hear being talked about was actually paid to Dominica to secure its vote for Expo 2030. And now, if you follow the budget speech last couple of weeks, Melissa Poupon-Skerritt actually talked about the botanical gardens. And so this $2 million is what she has earmarked for doing this golf course and these things in the garden. So that's where that is. So that's a truthful thing. It's not propaganda, it's not hearsay. It's actually in the budget. If you study Melissa Poupon's speech, you will find where she talks about the botanical gardens. And so that's from that $2 million from Saudi Arabia for buying Dominica's boat in order to be able to be the host of Expo 2030. Now, the thing is, the botanical gardens is a public space, it's public lands. According to the Constitution, the usage of spaces like this must go through a public consultation process. So just by going on and deciding what she is going to do with the garden is already unconstitutional. Okay? So anything that can happen at garden without public consultation is anti-constitution, and therefore is something that we can block through a simple injunction. If it comes to that, I'm just letting people know that is something we can block constitutionally. Anything that has to happen in the garden has to happen through public consultation. We have to be satisfied that what is happening in the garden is in our interest as Dominican citizens. That's for one. I want to applaud WAVE and the people who have taken up the effort and who've started this movement. And what I love about this movement, John, is for all these years, we've been talking about citizenship participation. And on this issue of the garden, we actually have a process that's building citizenship participation, not political participation, not disparticipation, regular citizens. So in this movement right here is exactly the model that we need for solving our problems in Dominica. Not waiting for the politicians, not saying, well, is Lennox have to do it, not saying is Thompson have to do it, not saying is this one is Afi. No. Citizens. And I want to applaud Sister Daria for her presentation and her vigor. And that is what we need. So I think if we follow that model, we are on the road to success. The next thing I want to address is the whole issue of electoral reform, John.
Sure.
A caller called you earlier on and talked about what is really going on with the Electoral Commission, where we are having consultations which by the Constitution are supposed to be under the heading of the Electoral Commission is actually under the heading of the government. So the consultation process itself is actually unconstitutional by definition of the Constitution. It's unconstitutional. This is supposed to have been run by the body that is empowered by the Constitution to take care of our electoral issues. But we are there. We are there. And I'm not going to put the onus on the political parties and the representative groups, the lawyers and whatever, that they have to go there and make their representation. I get it. But what I want to call on is Dominicans. Dominicans. There's an idea that we sit at home and we watch on the phone and we wait for the live and for Lofty to carry it and for us to talk on Matt the next day. We come into that kind of culture. What I want to ask people to do is on Tuesday evening, we should not come into that culture. We should make our placards. We should go out there en masse and let these people know that we are serious about our electoral reform while whatever officials are dealing with their presentations. We have to make ourselves heard. It is not a good idea to stay home and wait until Roosevelt Skerrit signs whatever he's going to sign in Parliament with his 18-3 majority, and then we come talk this thing that we want to make some noise. It's almost too late. So if we want to mobilize the people, we have to start Tuesday evening on this. If we're serious about getting electoral reform for Dominica, the Patriots have to begin Tuesday evening. We have to make sure our voices are heard in Roseau and at that state house. There's not an option. So I want to call on the Patriots. Organize yourself, make your placards, put on your shirts, whatever you are. Get a printout of the options that we're talking about. Options like Dr. Andre, options like Brother Johnson and others. All them at the table, whatever. Print them out, man. Print them out. Go out there, read them out, shout them out. We have to make sure that these guys get the message from the get-go that we want our electoral reform and we want our alterations to Byron's document. It's as simple as that. There's no more excuses. Everybody talking about who talking, who not talking. Go and talk at that state house on Tuesday. That is where you have to go and talk. We want some noise over there Tuesday evening. Let them do what they have to do. They put in the state house. I guess they have their security. That's fine. We don't care. Let us make enough noise that people know that we have the masses to stop this madness. The masses to stop this madness.
Yes, brother said. Well said, and I can feel the passion, man. I heard Babs Dyer, Royal Babs Dyer on Matt was yesterday or today. And Matt and Babs was very, very much passionate about that botanical garden thing. And
yeah, man.
Now talking about the possibility of putting an injunction. I suppose Babs is also listening, and he could probably look into that as well to ensure that is done.
Yeah, man. Babs is the Attorney General. He's the right man for the thing.
And that would make life much easier for us, rather than having to go through all that stress of protest and all of that. You simply go to the court and put an injunction.
No, man, John, the protest is important, man. You see, the protest is about building us to be brave. There's a psychological aspect. The thing in Dominica is our spirit is broken, John. And those little things are important. They help to build people back. I can go out. I can go out. I can go out. When you hear someone like Daria calls from her home and she wakes up in the morning and she's so mad, she picks up her phone and she says, I gotta do this. I'm not a politician.
But we cannot say we going.
You understand?
Maslin,
go ahead, Maslin.
Wow.
Maslin, go ahead.
Maslin, go ahead. We can hear you.
Maslin, go ahead.
There's something from your end, Maslin.
Her mic is she not hearing us?
Yeah, I think it's from Maslin's end. All right, well, let's go on still.
Yeah, we can, you and your Washburn can join in, we can converse. Yes, it's cool.
Yes, Washburn wants to win as well on the discussion. Yes, Brother Washburn.
Yeah, well, we had a critical stage in our development, and I always talk about government's approach to its policy formulation process, because the matter with regards to the gardens has to do with, development of proper public policy. And as it was highlighted before, you have to have a consultative process, and not just informing people, but if you conceive development like that, you need to get people's participation. You need to get people's involvement in terms of what they think of the idea. So, although I have just read release coming from the Prime Minister's office refuting the claim that the gardens is sold. But yet, what is really happening? What is the development idea being conceived? We need more information. And where this is lacking, obviously, there must be concern by the community as to that particular development. And bearing in mind, this is a public space that is so critical to the city itself. It is like the lungs of the city. And if you're going to interfere with the lungs of the city, then, there might be circumstances later that, it's going to be costly for future generations. So, the matter of the consultation process, that is where my concern is. I think the functionaries who have responsibility for the gardens need to be clear with the people as to what is happening. If the government is saying, yeah, we understand it's not sold, but some development is going to take place. What is the development about? What type of development? How is it going to benefit the people? So all of that has to be part of a consultative process. The issue of electoral reform, we cannot overemphasize. But, we are so redundant in this matter of electoral reform. We should be at a point now where we should be talking about, future elections with proper legislation. We shouldn't be in the process now of talking of what type of legislation and whatnot that we're going to have. So we need to see how we can advance that process. And I am in support of Zed. Some kind of protest need to manifest itself with regards to the gathering. I heard Zed mention about this on Tuesday. I thought Bruno mentioned to me it was Monday. But even then, we are as CCM, we are very critical non-government organization, civil society organization involved in the business of reform. And I'm not aware,
Brother Washburn,
as an organization,
let me just
we have an invitation to such a consultation. In fact, when the report from Byron was presented, we were not even invited as a CCM to receive a report. And here it is again, we have not received any formal invitation to any consultation. Not that we want to give credence to the consultation, because as has been said, we have been asking that this matter should be handled by the commission. We have even questioned the appointment of Daru to do anything with regards to reform, electoral reform. We are very clear on that from a CCM perspective. And to the extent that this consultation is going to be held, and mark you, the government had indicated very early that they were going to start that process maybe a month ago. And maybe right now, maybe they are just responding to the fact that the electoral coalition and other civil society organizations have gone ahead and are having consultations with the people that would impact whatever is the final presentations with regards to the legislation. But all of this, I must say, need to come to an end very soon. And the only way it can come to an end very soon is if the citizens of Dominica take a more involved get more involved in the process other than just talking, unless we can show some boots on the ground representation to indicate that we at a point where we're almost frustrated with this process. So that is just my contribution now on the matters being discussed. And of course, as been highlighted by Marceline, the electoral reform is so critical to justice and fairness in the society. If you do not have a government that you believe is legitimately and fairly elected, you're going to have problems in society. So we need to move away from that kind of situation so that whenever Dominicans elect a government, they know that it has been done within an atmosphere of fairness and being free. Yes, it has been free, but it has not been necessarily fair. And we need to get it to, we need to have even playing field so that let the best stand out of that even playing field. So that is my presentation here for now, and I will.
Brother John, can you hear me?
Other inputs.
All right.
Necessary.
Thank you very much, Brother Washby. I can see our sister Martin is back on. So Martin, good coming now.
Just now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Program, Yes, I'm here.
All right.
Just now. Hold on. I'll call you back. Yes. Sorry for that.
No
yes,
problem.
John. Yes, my internet. I don't know what happened, but I kept shutting off, and I had to change my location. I changed to see if I could get So I'm closer to my browser. And
it seems to be okay now.
You're getting you loud and clear.
I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, Master, but before you comment, I'm sitting here and it's really mind-boggling because 15 years after talking about reform, since that famous email from Astefans in 2008, 15 years after, we are still talking about consultation. Can you imagine that? When we should have already had reforms in place, we are still talking about electoral reform consultations. And I remember clearly when the commission themselves actually requested money from the government to start a re-registration process in 2017, I believe. And the amount was just about $300,000. These monies were not given by the government to the Electoral Commission, but they found it necessary to give Dennis Byron double that amount, $650,000 for just recommendations, which they have gotten from the OAS, they have gotten from the other observers, they have gotten from the locals around, they've gotten from CARICOM, the various groups. I mean, they've got countless number of recommendations. And all this was set aside. The commission was also set aside, not given the monies to start that process going. But Byron got $650,000 to give us recommendations that is detrimental to the reform. So that is where we are. And Dominicans must understand that. And I want to encourage everybody, whoever can go or were invited, to go to that consultation so you can present your own counter proposal, so to speak. Because staying away is not going to help. We want to go through the process, go in there and see what they have to offer in terms of Byron's foolishness, and present our recommendations, that of Dr. Irvin Andre and others, to the meeting. So that is what we have to present, and let us decide on something right then and then. Therefore, Marceline.
Well, this electoral reform is a burning issue, and we have been clamoring for reform for years. We have been clamoring in ad nauseum for reform, and this government is not about giving reforms. And this is the reason why the monies could have been injected into our reforms if they wanted to give reform. They did not. But you see, all of a sudden, you see how much money was available for Byron.
Mm-hmm.
And this money that was given to Byron, do you think it's in your mind? Do you think that was for a legitimate result, or something, an effective and efficient result that is going to bring reform to the Dominican people? And if so, do you think there would be so much rigmarole? We are not asking for reform. We are not giving reform. What we are thinking of giving Dominicans is electoral modernization. And with all of that, look at the disrespect that goes on within the Electoral Reform Office. And why should we, as a people, with our rights that are drafted in the Constitution, our inalienable rights, why should we as a people accept that? Why should we wait on this report that we know from the beginning that it was going to be laced with all of what is in there, for this government, this quasi-dictatorship, to remain on our backs? Why should we have to wait for that when we the people have the power? The power in we the people is always stronger than the people in power. It's more of us than the people in power. Why is it so hard that we can't understand that this is our country and we have a right as first-class citizens, not as the second class and the third class and the last class they're trying to make us Dominicans? Eviscerate all of our rights, take away our rights. Everybody else has more rights than Dominicans, indigenous Dominicans. They're not catering to us. But the only time you hear they're catering to Dominicans, it's around election time, when they talk about disenfranchising Dominicans who are abroad. The state, Dominica, did not banish Dominicans. Dominicans chose on their own volition to go and live in another country, where most of them who go back home and do that bullshit, sabotage the elections in Dominica, most of them have taken up oath in other countries. You know what an oath is? You know what an oath of citizenship is? It is to say that you will even take up arms against your own country of your birth, and that your adopted country where you live and where you vote and where you elect persons to govern your affairs has become your adopted country. You have no right doing what you're doing there, going home and elect a government on the backs of the people. This should be for the Dominican people who were patriotic enough to live in their country, to remain in spite of what happens. They were patriotic enough to remain. They did not go out searching for greener pastures. So when you talk about disenfranchising Dominicans who are abroad, every Dominican who chose to live in another country, if they want to vote in Dominica, they should not be disenfranchised. They can go home and live in Dominica and vote in Dominica. That is what patriotic people do. If you're patriotic to your flag and your country, and if you are true to yourself, true to your integrity, this is what you would have done. You would not go home for one day, take a plane ticket, take a bribe, elect a government, and come back out. Come back out. This is not about Dominica. It's about your own selfish agenda. And no wonder the country has fallen into that abyss. No wonder the country has been plundered like that. And a lot of Dominicans who are not standing up, for country, they have lost their voices. How did they lose their voices? It's because they accepted bribes. And some of them think that is favor from God, because we like to talk about God-fearing country and we like to talk about everything else. But when you take a bribe, you are going against, the very thing that God asked you not to do. When you take a bribe, it means that you have lost your voice. You can no longer advocate. You become part of the evil. So for Dominicans, for us to rid ourselves from the quasi-dictatorship and the evil that has encompassed our country, we have to stop taking those bribes. If you are not on government's payroll, if you did not work for government, and if you are receiving money in those brown paper bags under the table, when you know darn well you did not work for it, when you know you are not old, nor are you disabled, but you are using that, you're getting those monies in the form of bribes for your undeniable support. Like the pastors who accept duty free, and when they take those 30 pieces of silver, all their good morals and everything, they just put that aside, just like how they put their integrity aside, and just like how they put the country aside, and Dominica is just going down the drain. So what would it take, Dominicans? Think for a moment, Dominicans. What if we got up one day, wake up one morning, and hear on the international news that Saudi Arabia or China bought and owns Dominica? Would we as Dominicans agree to become like the Aborigines? Would we agree to that? A billionaire can develop Dominica in the blink of an eye. We yet to understand that. So how is it that we just sit aside and we just look and we complain every day and we fight each other? We are in that kind of turmoil. We fighting the wrong people. If you are part of that movement for change, we have to come together and unite our forces. We are too divided. We have to come together and fight for our country. This is the only way we can do it. It is not going to happen by prayers and faith alone. Prayers and faith alone is not going to cut it, because we too think that we are a Christian nation. No, we are just in our self-righteous mind. And a lot of us do so many wrong things, and we say that God is working for us. Even the money they carry them teeth in there and giving to us, we're saying it's God that provides for us. We are favored by God. Which favor? Which favor? And Dominicans, we claim to be God-fearing Christians. If we do not change our ways, if we do not repent from those ways that we have, when God's wrath comes down on us, we will be fleeing worse than the Palestinian children. You see what happened in Palestine? That the Palestinians have no place called home? Is that what we want for our country? And we take our country and we just give it up to some Chinese, and whosoever will may come, whosoever wants our passport can get it. And we have leaders, so-called leaders, prostituting our country, prostituting our people and country. My God, when we say tall is her body, it did not mean that Dominica should become like a whore. And that is what they have done. They have turned into Dominica like a whore. So all they are doing is just pilfering her, plundering her, taking from her, and just abusing her until she's on her face. We cannot allow that to continue. And this is the reason why electoral reform is so important, because our very own democracy hinges on electoral reform. Our development hinges on electoral reform. Look, when I last checked, look at the number of persons just dying at the hospital. We have no health care. And we heard the minister said that we have the best health care, just like any developing country in the world. Like, really, Dr. McIntyre? How can you face the people and tell them that such nonsense? And then when you look at it, of course, we understand why you said that. Because when we look at what the country's resources, when we look at what the resources are doing for just you guys, just a certain set, and Dominicans are scrunting and don't know where the other meal is coming from, and there's no supplies at the hospital. Dominicans have to, the nurses and the doctors, and they have to ration as to who lives and who dies, because there's something as dialysis becomes a meeting of the committees. Then they decide if you have 1 or 2 comorbidities. Maybe you're age 65, so you can die. And a younger person needs it more than you. And really? Is that the best we can do for our people? That is why electoral reform is so important. If we had electoral reform where we elect the best of our people to govern our affairs than the scums and the knuckleheads we have elected, that have just taken over our parliament like a bad virus. You know, when a virus hits your computer, that is what happens. It shuts you down when you're not ready to shut down. They're just like a bad virus, a virus that is just you can't get rid of. But how do we get rid of that? We have to fight, because democracy is never achieved. It is never achieved by just laying and praying. Every country I know with a democratic process that functions for its people, they had to fight for it. So our foreparents, they fought for our democracy, and they look at what they gave us. They gave us Dominica on a platter, and we allowed a few scoundrels who don't even know their roots, who don't even know their history, who don't even know who birthed them, to come and take it away from us. And we are sitting there undecided, in confusion. One day we are saying we should not protest. Another day we're saying let's boycott. Another time we're saying no, we have to come together and show these rebels at the helm of our country our force as a people. And how do we do it? We come out in the numbers. That is the only way we're going to take back our country. Let these people understand that we are serious about what our foreparents, that asset that our foreparents gave to us on a platter, because we did not have to sweat in the sun and the rain. We did not have to get the master's whips on our backs. We did not have to work when we were sick. We were not raped. We were not raped. And this is what our blood and the sweat of our ancestors on our land. And that is why we should preserve it by all costs, because we have reasons to preserve it, because somebody paid the price for us with the blood, sweat, and tears. Somebody paid for it, and we should behave like Dominica is ours, because it is ours. It is legitimately ours, because we are bona fide Dominicans, and we should not allow anybody to take it away from us, let alone the scoundrels who have no history, who have no common sense. They can't even represent it in Dominica. You think about when they go elsewhere talking nonsense all the time. This is how they sell out our country. They sell out our country like rice. And we should be tired of it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ashlyn. Well said. Well said. I know people out there appreciating what you have just said. But I said I know you have something to say as well. I mean, the people hear us every Friday on our program, so I'm giving you guys the opportunity to have your say this evening. So go ahead, brother. I think you're muted, brother. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
one of the things that has been affecting our struggle is the issue of fake news, whereby we take fake news and we run with it, you know. And we have to start being careful about that. Even my brother Matt, I want him to start checking his facts before he talks about them on the radio. You know, we have to, because what happened is these people take those things and they manipulate and they kill our vibe. Like the issue of the gardens being sold. You know, it's fake news. You know, so we shouldn't carry those things. The issue in the garden is there's a development that is going to take place without our consultation, as every other development in Dominica takes place without our consultation. The gardens is public lands. By the Constitution, we can go into any court and win this government on stopping any development on that land without public consultation. We're in the right, which means we can stop this if we really want to stop it. There are like 5 different plans that are based on environmental studies that are geared towards better environmental issues that have been prepared by Dominicans for the botanical gardens. We want to ensure that we have discussion on these plans, that the people are involved, Dominicans are involved. We want to see what they are, what the drawings are, what the things are, and we collectively as a people can support what is best for our country and for the botanical gardens. And that is where the buck must stop on that botanical gardens issue, not any other place. We have to be involved in our development. Melissa Skerrit cannot sit down in her house and decide what she's going to do for Dominica without coming and talk to us as Dominicans. It's plain and simple as that. Now, Brother Washburn, I want to touch CCM for a minute. I heard you talk a while ago about you wasn't sure what night is the consultation. Brother Washburn, that's a joke. You're in Dominica, I'm in New York. You're the president of CCM. President.
So
you're supposed to be in all consultations. Listen, man, give me my moment. Give me my moment. The group is supposed to have a representative in every consultation that take place, bro, if you're serious about business. It's not optional. I remember when you guys were talking about Byron, and I said we have to make a difference between the group construct and the representative construct. Even if the citizens are going to do what they're going to do, the group must always make sure that it has a representative where decisions are made. You have to be on that. You have to understand that dichotomy. That's why I understand, for instance, a political party saying a representative to Tuesday, but still having its supporters there in protest. Because we have to still be at the decision-making process. You have to know what's going on. You understand? So the fact that CCM is not getting reports and not getting invitations is a problem. It is a problem. So and that is what is affecting us in Dominica. The groups are not organized in the way that they're supposed to be organized. People are joining groups. They're not doing group study. They're not developing concepts of how groups are run. We're just joining groups. You know, we have, so part of the problem why the nonsense continues in Dominica is on us. Not scare it on us, because we are not doing the things in the mannerisms and ways that the world does them, by process, by stages, by consensus. We must start doing those things. If you're the president of CCM, you've taken up a responsibility to make a sacrifice. If you cannot make that sacrifice, you're not supposed to be the president of CCM. It's that simple. You feel me? So it's those kind of things. Yesterday on the radio, I hear Brother Mackenzie, Brother Bob come on the radio, singing like they're ready to go and sleep. We cannot do those things. If we want to take up the people's struggle, we have to understand it's a sacrifice. It's a sacrifice. It's the lack of that understanding that is causing this thing to happen in Dominica, bro. It begins with us. It begins with us. And I want us to really start getting and really understanding that is necessary, because unless we go to that 11th hour mentality, we're not going to stop Roosevelt Skerrit. Roosevelt Skerrit is no joke, man. His brother is no joke. This brother will walk over you if you let him walk over you. The only way we can address Roosevelt Skerrit is by a resilient resistance. There's no other way. A resilient resistance. And so I'm asking the group, bro, and the members and the people listening, we have to get on a different wavelength. We have to get on a different wavelength. It is going to take sacrifice to save our country. Sacrifice to save our country. We need to stop talking about Roosevelt Skerrit and start talking about ourselves and how we do protocol, how we do procedure, and how we do organization.
Yes, brother.
Brother.
Yes, you're coming down heavy.
Yeah, man, today is 11th hour. It's 11th hour.
Okay, Coffee wants to something, so let me go ahead, Coffee.
Yes, brother Zed. I always respect all opinions, but
don't speak like you want to sleep.
Yeah, I respect all opinions, but my first sacrifice, is I'm here. That is the first sacrifice. I on the ground. That is the first sacrifice. As I said, I got some information through one of our members that there is a consultation. I have no official information about any consultation. And I cannot, as CCM, we cannot invite ourselves to somebody's consultation. But if we are and we want to be there, we will try our best to be there. But I mean, I have to say it as it is. I have to say that it is. I mean, we believe we are a critical organization and we have been doing our work. And people are supposed to recognize that and respect us. But I can't make people submit invitation. And if we have to be there, we will be there. But I'm just saying as it is, that we have not been invited. And to the extent that when I got the information, I was told it's Monday. I'm hearing about a Tuesday now, and all that confusion is because we have no official information.
Okay, can I
so
say
that is where I stand on this. But what about the sacrifice and so on? I know what is being done. I'm not going into the details about that because I'm always up and down. I'm never one place. I have been doing my work.
I would like to interject a little.
So I just wanted to clarify that. But we are doing what we have to do. We recognize what we have to do, and taking up the job of as president of CCM. I know I'm making the ultimate sacrifice. I don't have to discuss those details there, but I know what we, and that's not only me, but we as CCM, all the brothers and sisters in CCM, we are doing what we can do within our resources and our time and so on. So that is where we stand, but obviously we will make our voice be heard wherever we are, wherever we make ourselves manifested in any.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
Watch me. You know what I would have done if I were the president of the CCM in Dominica, and I was not invited to the consultation. Well, it's clearly they don't want you guys at the consultation. Maybe they want you guys to be mobilizing against the consultation, because that is what I would be doing if I were in Dominica and they did not invite me. Well, it's clear they want me to do something different. So I would be mobilizing against that consultation. You see, like what we did to Vince Henderson when he came. Henderson and what is her name? Francine Barron, when they came to Washington, D.C. to talk nonsense. You know what I did? I mobilized, and we were protesting right inside the meeting in D.C. That's what I would have done. They would fed up with me. They would do everything right because they would not want a little like me down there. They would have done everything right if I was down there.
But point taken.
Yeah, but Maslin and Zen and others and Listen Public, if I have to put this thing in perspective and to be quite frank about it, CCM's initial position on this Byron's one-man consultant thing, we were really against it, and we said so openly. We said that we were not going to be part of Byron's consultancy. So I suppose along those lines, if we were never interested in anything Byron had to do or say about reform, I suppose there's no need for them to invite us. And like you rightly said, if we are not invited, or I think we should be doing something differently. So perhaps that's the route that we should take at this point in time, because we are really and truly not in favor of the recommendations. And if we were to go there, we will be presenting our recommendations to the meeting.
Exactly, John. Exactly, John. That's what CCM was supposed to be. That's my point. That's my point. That's my point. And it's not how they come. The message is not for all you guys, really, it's for the patriots, but sometimes the thing have to take place in the public, because it's not just for the group. That's why I'm having it in the public. It's a Dominica issue. It's a Dominica issue. We are not taking responsibility for our responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a Lennox issue. It's not a Thompson issue. It is us. And that's why I'm happy about the botanical gardens, and I'm happy for sisters like Daria and others. I'm happy because finally the thing is coming to fruition, that people are realizing is citizens that have to stand up. It's not political parties. It's not this party. It's not this. It's citizens. And CCM represents the citizens. And so CCM should not be tonight telling me we'll do something. CCM should be telling us tonight we're going to go outside that goddamn government house and we're going to ram that place. That's what we're going to do.
Good point.
We're going to ram that goddamn place. You feel me? So that is the kind of energy we have for us to wake our people up. We have to be strident in that thing, brother. No compromise. This is 11 power.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fire we're going to burn right now. Straight fire.
Let's just take one or two callers. I think the lines are right enough. Let's take one or two callers. Good evening, caller. You're right on cue.
Good evening. Good evening.
So you, hey, Brother Earl.
Yes, Brother John. I like the spirit, man.
Former deputy president, vice president of CCM.
Yes. I like the spirit, man.
Yeah.
I like the whole program, but I like that segment there. That segment, it was very spicy, but that is the nature and spirit of CCM. You know, that's what CCM there for. CCM really not there to come and polishing and making things look like as if, well, it's a nice, sweet smelling rose. we have to rough it up. We have to dirty the water at times. But that is right in terms of we cannot be backing down on certain things, especially when you fighting for something. You should not be avoiding certain things, or let's say not showing up in certain things. Like, for instance, with regards to the reform. But I can well understand earlier on our position as a group that may have affected some of our whole quest.
The inviting show,
inviting the invitation. But
I think so.
I believe it's not too late. We will be there, and in any way, shape, or form, we should make ourselves available on that.
Be it inside or outside.
Whether it's inside or outside, if we are not invited inside, it's going to be harder outside, because the harder they come, the harder they fall. So if they don't give us invitation to come inside,
we're going to be outside.
Boy, we will be outside. I tell you, like fire and brimstone.
And that's where Z comes in with the placards on the outside.
Yeah, man.
Yes.
I'm listening.
Thank you, Brother Earl.
I would rather be on the outside.
All right. All right, folks. Time have come and go. So it was 6, so we can probably just wind up a minute or two to just wind up. Closing comments. Who's going first? Was that going first? Ladies first. No, ladies first. Sister Maslin.
Yes. Well, what I have to say for my closing comment, I'd like to ask the Dominican people to examine themselves. Let's examine our consciences. And when I say the Dominican people, I am not talking about the people of the resistance only. I am talking to all Dominicans, the laborites, those who are disgruntled, the very happy ones with all the wrong and the evil, those who pacify evil for good and good for evil. It is time to examine your conscience, because you still have the time. As long as you have life, then you have time. Examine your conscience and do what is right for the country. Because at the end of the day, our patriotism is not to politicians. Our allegiance should not be to the politicians. Our allegiance is about country. And if we care about our motherland, we will do what is right by her and for her citizens. We will not be violating our rights. We will not be discarding our rights as Dominicans, bona fide Dominicans. That is what you pull out your gut and you push in trash. You should stand firm for your country. You cannot continuously support the wrong things that you see glaring in your eyes. and think that you're doing it because your allegiance is to a politician. This country is ours for us to protect. And long after the politicians will be gone, our country will remain. So let us come together as one people and let us fight to save our country. Let us fight to save our country. Do not be like when God sent the prophet Jonah to Nineveh to give the people an opportunity to repent from their evil ways. Jonah was mad. He did not want to go. So he went in the opposite direction. He did not go because he felt that the people should not be saved. And you know what he did? He winded up on a boat where he encountered rough seas. When the storm came, he was tossed overboard and he winded up in the belly of the whale. We see that whale. We see that whale waiting to devour us, but we are still loyal. We are still Christian-minded. We are still too Christian to talk. We are too self-righteous for us to stand up. We don't, this is politics. No, the politics decide the milk that you give your children. It decides the bill that you have to pay at the end of the month, how much you're going to pay to the WASCO, how much you're going to pay for your children, what your children stand to lose, what you stand to lose. We need to stop betting on the lives of our children, the welfare of our children. It's time we take back our country, and we can take it back, then we can get electoral reform. But if we're waiting for electoral reform to take back our country, then it's not going to happen. And that is why that consultation next week should be met with the fury of the people. After that consultation, they should be looking for where they can hide. And that is what I have to leave with the Dominican people. Peace and blessings.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Marcelin. What is said?
Yeah, well, let me thank the and you know, I know sometimes I come down hard, but it's not. I just be hard on myself too, brothers. Don't take it personal. It's never personal for me. I never do it personal. Yeah, I never do the personal. So nobody don't take it personal. I'm hard on myself too, bro. What I want to just leave with the citizens is on Sunday, Sister Daria and Wave has put out a call. We're gonna meet in the gardens. Yeah, take your walk, take your child, find your way in the gardens, go and show some solidarity. Just, you know, go there, drive your car and go there. On Tuesday, same way, find your way. If you have a car, it's you alone, find 3 people in your village, drive them with you. Drive them with you. Let's go down by that State House with our placard and our noise. Let us go down by that State House with our placard and our noise. It's as simple as that. This is 11th hour in the country, bro. 11th hour. These guys have 18-3 in Parliament. The reasons they're doing what they're doing is they want to see if we have a crowd, if we have a mass that can stop them. We need to not wait for the last minute when we have to rush to try and go in front of Parliament. Let us set them the message from get-go. Every goddamn consultation has to be massive and resilient. There's no other way. There's no other way. Like peace and blessings, Dominica. God bless my brothers. Civic Vibes Sunday afternoon. We're gonna have Brother Wilshire, Brother Henry Shillingford, myself, Lofty, and you know, tune in, check us out. It's gonna be fire burning Sunday. Straight up fire. Yes.
Thank you, Dominicans. Thank you for listening. Thank you, CCM.
Thank you very much. But before you guys go, I just want to say something. Well, to the listening public, with this whole reform thing, because if the Electoral Commission is serious about electoral reform, and the government is also serious about funding the commission, that could happen very quickly, because we have other countries, for example, Bahamas, Barbados, Antigua, Jamaica, all these countries who did their reforms within 6 months with bigger populations and larger voters list. So I cannot see why we can't do it within 3 to 6 months in Dominica. And I believe it is simply because the government does not have the will and the commission itself has been sidelined. So it is we now, Dominicans, to put our foot down and to demand that we get our reform. For the consultation on Tuesday evening, for those persons who will be on the inside, because most likely will be on the outside, but for those persons who will be on the inside, I am saying to them that they should present the recommendations from Dr. Irvin Andre. Of course, if there's anything good in Byron's report, yes, I suppose it can be taken, but the recommendations from Dr. Irvin Andre should be that should be presented to that meeting on Tuesday evening. All right. And not only that, I believe there should be a deadline for those recommendations to be taken to Parliament, and also a deadline to begin the actual process of the reforms with a completion date. Brother Washby?
Yeah, well, my closing comments, basically, there is no doubt that our democracy has been threatened and been undermined, and that is just because of the whole policy approach by government. It's not a democratic approach. I mean, yes, we are a parliamentary democracy, but the government in its own style and fashion, they're on a different footing. I think we are more being led like in a totalitarian society. And this is why the necessary consultations that needs to be done to inform policy formulation is screwed, is not working in a logical manner. So the citizens need to be cognizant of that, and they need to be ready to take whatever action is deemed necessary to get us back to where we should be. Because I believe and I believe what is necessary in Dominica now, with all these problems we have, we need a new political directorate. I think that is where the problem is. We need a new political directorate in Dominica so that we can put things back in order. Things are not working in accordance with the logical frameworks we expect as a result of our democratic situation and institutions. And unless we can arrive at that point, then a lot of what we are fighting for will be lost. So I believe the onus has to be on a complete change around in the political directorate for the citizens to reap the benefits, the real benefits of our independence. And that is where I think we are. But also too, I want to take this opportunity before we close. We have been doing some serious work in the Southeast in terms of our UWP association out there. We have just had fresh elections and elected new people. And we have a major public meeting tomorrow in Grand Fond at 7 p.m. So the UWP Constituency Association is inviting the general public. We will have a slate of powerful speakers, including Dr. Fontaine and the UWP executive or leadership at Grand Fond tomorrow evening. So I'm inviting one and all to this program tomorrow. Again, that is, you know, we have to fight this thing on all fronts. And I'm not only on one front. I'm not just a CCM front, you know. So it's a struggle, and I find ways to get involved in it and to make my contribution. So my hope is to invite other people to sacrifice themselves. I'm sacrificing a lot of my time and effort, and other people need to come on board and to make their contribution be felt and heard.
Right.
So I want to rest.
Okay, brother Washby. All right. Keep on making the sacrifice, my brother. All right, it's 18 and we have to call it a night. So thank you very much, Sebastian Edwards and Zed Lloyd. We really appreciate your presence here this evening and your great contribution to our program.
Thank you.
And I know the listeners.
Yeah, man. Blessings.
Thanks for having us. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Great contribution.
You're most welcome.
Yes, yes, Washby.
And bye now. Cool.
Okay, bye.
Suck up the country, they suck up. They suck up the country, the blood of the country. Politicians, suck it up, greedy black man. Suck it up, they suck up with country, the blood of my country. Hey, how do you look it? Hey, Reban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Reban Sukuyama. Hey, anybody with some red agenda, walk across a bag of sand, walk across a garlic, we stopping them this year. Reban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Reban Sukuyama. Look it. Hey, let me go. They're sucking left, they're sucking right, anything inside. I always understood that my country was doing good. Whoa! But parasites and leeches sucked up my country juices. Well, they sucked it very well. For their personal gain, you'll see say over again. IMF never had to come down here to advise us on how we should take care. We shot a cow to kill a fly flew away and the damn cow die. I wonder why. They suck up the country, they suck up the country dry, Lord. They suck up the country, they suck up the country dry. Oh mama, why? Politicians sucking it, lazy black men with no ambition sucking it. Like vacuum they suck it up, civil servants, local merchants, look like who wants sucking it. Like vacuum they sucking it dry. They're giving away accuracy for speed, all because of our greed. Cutting we nose to spike we face, now it's waste man have to brace. They sucking we country, they sucking we country, dry Lord. They sucking we country dry Lord. Boom. Watch it. Leban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Leban Sukuyaki. Hey, Father Thomas, I'm going by you. I need some holy water and a big piece of gum. We're smoking them. We're coming through. Leban Sukuyaki, oh yeah, Leban Sukuya mama. Hey, let me go. They're sucking left, they're sucking right, anything inside. The last much I could tell, local music was selling well. But local music shops pirating wouldn't stop. Well, they pirating me well. To record we go through loan while they sit down, relax and burn. Like some people just don't have a heart, while you're trying to tear musicians apart. And they're waiting every year like we collecting cash from the air. Leban Sukuyaki, huh?